Hello, and welcome to MorphMinutes, presented by StudioM. StudioM exists to help you change the sound of your money, your financial education, and coaching. I am your host, Katrina Pitts, instructor and financial coach. Today is episode 1, entitled Sound of Money and the 50, 70, 100 Principle. Let's get started with a few money facts and the life hack. Money fact for today is down payment assistance. There are more than 2,500 programs available from state and local governments, charities, and private lenders to help consumers meet home purchase down payment requirements. So I encourage you to look in your local communities, look in your local governments and charities to see what down payment assistance programs are available if you are in search of a home or looking to be a homeowner in the next 6 months to 18 months, so you can get the assistance that you qualify for, and that would be helpful as you make that next step to be a homeowner. The life hack is what you become is the result of what you do today. What you become is the result of what you do today. And today you're taking time out of your busy schedule to listen to or to watch today's episode. So hopefully this helps you become better equipped to be a more informed consumer and help you be a better manager of your finances. Today's episode objectives are 1, to define critical facets of personal finance. 2, explain how those facets contributed to the current financial situation. And 3, define the 50, 70, 100% principle. Diving in. So if I was to say these following words, you think to yourself, what word that you hear sounds familiar or describes your current financial situation? If I said distressing or frustrated, disorganized, unstable, neutral, maybe you don't feel one way or the other about it, uncertain, or fearful, which of those words sound familiar relative to your personal finances? I'll give you a couple seconds to think about that. Distressing, unstable, frustrated, disorganized, neutral, uncertain. Which of those sounds familiar? Which of these words sound impossible relative to your financial life? Satisfied, joyful, free, confident, knowledgeable, progress, reliable. Do any of these words sound impossible relative to your current financial situation? So question number 1 that I would have for you today as we jump into the content. What is the difference between what sounds familiar and what sounds impossible? What's the difference? Is there a big difference, a small difference, meaningful, not meaningful? What is the difference between what sounds familiar and what sounds impossible? And then question number 2 is what needs to happen for you to move from familiar to the impossible? What needs to happen for you to move from the familiar to the impossible? So let's say your familiar word was disorganized and your impossible word was stable. What would it take for you to move from disorganized to stable? Would that be education? Would that be information that you need? Would it be experience that we're sort of testing things out to find stability, or we're testing things out to find organization or finances? Guidance or coaching, having someone to come alongside you, someone who's proven and has proved that they are proficient in their own personal finances, to come and help you navigate that way. What would need to happen or be incorporated into your life for you to move from familiar to the impossible? Let's set a few basic principles before we really get started. Number 1, personal finance is a combination of our ideas, our beliefs, our attitudes, and our experiences. They are a combination of our ideas, what our ideas are, or what we feel like we can do with money, what we feel like money offers us, how we feel money can benefit our lives or not benefit our lives, what we feel like we can do with money, what money we feel like is available, our ideas, our beliefs kind of are deeper than those ideas. Really, I believe that I can do X with my money, or I believe that I will never have X amount of dollars. I believe that as soon as money comes in, it's always designated for something else. What do I believe with my money? My attitude about money, depending upon what my experiences have been, could be very positive, could be negative, could be neutral. I could feel very good about the outlook of my financial situation. I could look very doubtful and very, very depressed about it, or very uncertain about it, very lack excitement for it. I don't know what to do, sort of throw my hands up in desperation, throw my hands up in confusion. There could be a lot of different attitudes that we have about our money. And then experiences, what we've experienced, what the good we've experienced, pay raises, we've experienced paying off debt, we've experienced being able to buy a car because our credit is we've shown ourselves to be credit worthy, or we are now working our way out of a personal bankruptcy because of unpaid medical bills, because of a very unforeseen medical issue that arose in our life, which caused us to be out of work, which caused us to not make money, which caused us to not have insurance, which caused a domino effect of things to take place in our life. Those experiences absolutely can shape how we interact with money and what our relationship with money can be. It doesn't mean that it's concrete, it doesn't mean it's set in stone, but it absolutely can inform how we feel to date. But the important thing is to start looking for different experiences, start looking for different options, start learning different things, start choosing different things in our lives to help us gain other experiences. What inputs shape those ideas, beliefs, and attitudes and experiences about money? What inputs, what are the things that we take in on a daily basis, subconsciously or unknown, that are actually helping to shape our ideas? Relationships. Who do we trust? Do we trust our family? Do we trust our friends? Do we trust, personalities and media personalities? Do we trust newspapers? Do we trust different podcasts that we listen to? What relationships? Who do we trust? Who have we allowed and say, you have entree to speak into my life related to personal finances? Or we may not have anybody. We may be out here sort of doing things on our own and independently because we don't have anybody that we can trust. Our personality, what drives our financial decisions? Could we be a sort of hardwired spender, a hardwired saver? Are we a person who really is looking for the next big financial boom, or we're looking to constantly put our money into things because of the return that we could get, neglecting and sort of secondary, putting our current situation secondary? Are we constantly looking towards the future for things and forget that we have needs and wants and desires in the present? So are we constantly looking for security, stability? Are we making those decisions of, if I do this, that will create a stable situation for me now and going forward? Dismissing, or really not leaning into and appreciating that there are great experiences that we can have here and now. Or we just kind of disconnected from our money. It comes in, it goes out. We don't really think too much about it. It gets spent, it might get saved, and we're just sort of, out here. Any of those can absolutely shape in our financial decisions. Education. How are we taught? Were we taught through formal education? That's what I'm trying to say. Formal education, whether it was college, formal education, some sort of accreditation or certification. Were we taught through our experiences? Are definitely a great teacher in a lot of ways. Were we taught by our parents? Our parents sort of sit us down and talk to us about money. And I can say for me personally, that was not my personal experience. My mom tried. My dad was really more the spender. Mom was more the sort of security person and saver. My mom tried to teach me. I was really an unwilling participant in that. And so it wasn't from a lack of trying. It was really from lack of engagement on my part, which then caused a lot of bumps and bruises and a lot of painful experiences that made me kind of come back around to mom and say, sorry, can you try to teach me again? But education, how are we taught? Formally, informally, experiences? Were we taught through sort of trial and error? We figured out what worked, what didn't work, what brought positive results, what brought negative results without being too catastrophic. How are we taught? Engagement. What has our attention? And this is kind of a deeper one that we don't really think too much about. So I want to highlight this one just for a quick second. What has our attention? Am I focusing on goals? Am I focusing on those kind of pain points in my life? Meaning, am I focusing on those things that are really, really hindering my progress? Am I focusing on those things that are sort of weighing me down? Meaning, I have a lot of debt, or there's a lot of outstanding, student loan bills. There's a great deal. I'm challenged to save money because I'm spending a lot of money. So I'm challenged to say that that's a pain point because I desire to be financially stable, which involves and includes savings. What are those pain points? What are those places that if you sort of open that up, it would be a little painful, a little cause our shoulders to droop a little bit. Our beliefs and attitudes, are we constantly reevaluating our relationship with money? Is it turning to be more positive? Is it turning to be more negative? How are we actually relating to money, and what are we paying attention to? And are we even engaged on the basic parts of it? We don't have to look at our spreadsheet 5 times a day, every single day. We don't have to calculate all the pennies that are in each and every investment account to see what changes and moves. We don't have to do that. But we do at least have an eye that we're moving towards our goals. Have we set a goal? Are we engaged in being very intentional with how we utilize the resources that we have at our disposal? Engagement. What has our attention? And then finally, resources. What's at our disposal, which could be different than what we think it is. Are there skills and expertise that we have that we can use? Is there education that we are not properly utilizing in our workplace? Is there different hard skills and soft skills? Do we have a effective way to communicate? Do we have an effective way to cast visions or to manage projects so that there's detail, there's timing, there's precision to how those projects move along? What are some resources that we have? Is it straight our paycheck, which is a great resource to have? Is there savings? Is there a side for part of the gig side hustle economy? Is there something that can help me progress and move forward? Also, what resources, if we do work in corporate America and we do have access to a pretty robust HR department, what are some resources when it comes to advancement of our careers? What expertise? What's the pathway? What are the things that we need to show proficiency in to move further and progress in our careers? Which hopefully there is an increase in the resource, an increase in the paycheck that goes along with that progression and that advancement in our career. So what resources? So the things that, again, want to summarize that. The things that can shape our inputs, or excuse me, that can shape our ideas, our beliefs and our attitudes about our money, our relationships, who do we trust, our personalities, what drives our personal financial decisions, education, how are we taught, engagement, what has our attention, and resources, what is at our disposal. So let's take in that thought for a quick second. Any difference between what your initial thoughts were on what your money sounds like, and afterwards, now we've kind of gone through maybe showing how we have arrived at our current location, how our thoughts and ideas have been shaped about money up to now. Is there any difference in what really drives our financial decisions? It could be our personalities. It could be our relationships. And if we don't have them, that could definitely serve as a challenge and a trouble spot to how we handle our money. Resources, are we even aware beyond just the normal paycheck? Did we now become more aware of what is at our disposal so that we can utilize that and leverage that for our benefit and for our good? So when you make a note right now, if there's a difference between what you initially thought and how you think now about your money, or what you initially thought would help shape our ideas and our attitudes and beliefs about money, and now what you think has helped shape your attitudes and beliefs about money. Just take a quick minute and make a quick note before we move into the next part of today's lesson. I want to say this before we start with our 50, 70, 100 principle. Personal financial management starts with 2 things. 1, we have to be honest, and 2, we have to be realistic. We have to be honest and we have to be realistic. What does that mean? Be honest. Be honest about where our financial life is today. If it's in a good spot, be honest. If it's not in a good spot, be honest. Be real with ourselves and say, this is where I am as of today, whatever date you're looking at this video and listening to this podcast. This is where I am today. I have debt, or I have a low savings account, or I have insufficient insurance, or whatever it is. Be honest. Then be realistic. And that doesn't mean that we reduce our goals, that we reduce our dreams. That means that we then plot a realistic and meaningful pathway to change. That we say we are choices and decisions away and steps away from having meaningful difference in our financial life. So be honest about where we are and be realistic and thoughtful about how we intend to change it. And that's actually how our 50, 70, 100 principle kind of came to life, honestly. The being honest about where we are sometimes is difficult, because sometimes our location of our finances and what we hear our finances say every single month, sometimes it's as a result of our own choices. Sometimes it's as a result of external things. Either way, it doesn't always feel good. It's not always comfortable. And then we go, well, how do I fix it? How do I change it? I have a huge gap to fill. I have a huge mountain to climb, or I have a huge, debt to cover, whatever. And it seems insurmountable. It seems very, very difficult. So what do we do? And then what is really the important thing that we need to take care of? That without this, it doesn't actually matter what our plan is and what our goal is. So let's talk about this. 50%. No matter what it looks like, there is an element of discomfort. What is the current state of my finances? It could be ugly, it could be painful, it could be challenging, but it is 50. The 50 represents 50% uncomfortable. I have to acknowledge and be honest with myself and with others. And I'll give you a personal example for myself. It became over the last several months, been experiencing a little bit of discomfort in my budget, and really looking at it going, what's happening? Why do I feel like I don't have money at the end of the month, or I feel like I should have more money at the end of the month, whatever. It just felt very tight and very restrictive. And I started looking at my budget and doing some research and realizing that my grocery budget was really out of step with what normal and average expenditures were. And when I say out of step, I do mean out of step. And so it became very clear to me, which was very uncomfortable, that I had been not using my money responsibly, thoughtfully, and intentionally, which was causing me to feel that pain, to feel that discomfort, to feel like my money was not going as far as it used to. And yes, there are external things that have put pressures on it itself, but my own choices have led it to be even more pressureful and more intense. So I had to come to that very uncomfortable realization. My hands and my swiping of the card had a lot to do with how I was feeling at the end of every pay period, at the end of every month. So I had to be very honest with myself on, this is what I'm experiencing, and this is my fault, and I need to deal with it. And not even a real blame game of you are at fault pointing fingers. It was I also have the power to fix it and to change it and to do better. So the 50% uncomfortable, what is the current state of our finances? That we have to be honest with ourselves and be honest with others. And the honesty with others is, as I set a goal, which we'll talk about here in a second, as I set a goal, I actually have told 2 people what my intentions are for the next 90 days. Because if I say it to somebody else who will hold me accountable, who has that voice in my life, who has that influence in my life, if I say it to them, I am much more apt and much more motivated to actually do it, because I've said I'm going to. It's a way of keeping me honest to myself. It's really easy to tell people I have a plan of losing 50 pounds, but if I don't tell anybody and I don't lose it, what's the loss, I guess. But for me, to keep myself honest and diligent and focus on this goal. I've told two very important people in my life, this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. I need your help in order to keep me honest and accountable to this. So 50% uncomfortable. 70% of the 70 is incremental. Where can small changes now lead me in the future? Define those action steps and the why. So 70% incremental, I'll say that again, 70% incremental. Where can small changes now lead me in the future? Define those action steps and define the why. So for me, my small changes was reducing a particular percentage every week in my grocery bill. I'm reducing it this amount every week so that in the future, at the end of every pay period, at the end of every week, whatever the cadence is, whatever money I have left over from that bucket that I've paid, I am moving it into a different account so that I can start investing, so I can start saving, so I can start having my money work for me versus just being a consumer all the time. Why? So that I can start building wealth, so I can start moving towards more financial freedom, so I can start making progress in the goals that I've set for myself. So what small changes? Small changes, reducing it just a percentage here or there, reducing it by a dollar amount here or there, so that in the future, I will be able to compound my accruals and grow and grow and grow. Why? Financial freedom, independence, building wealth. There has to be a reason why we are doing this. There has to be a target. There has to be a future state for why we're making these changes. So 70% is incremental. What small changes now? Where can small changes now lead me in the future? Define those action steps and the why. The 100 is 100% vital. Vital. What can I start doing now? Take an easy and early win. What can I start doing now? Take an easy and early win. The other part of that is, what if I don't do this one thing? Pretty much negates whatever planning and goal setting that I have. So for me, I had to tell myself, I'm going to reduce my grocery bill by X percentage every single month. This is why I'm doing it. And the actual action steps I'm taking is I'm shopping at these particular stores and these particular stores only. So I've even narrowed the scope. So I don't even have the temptation of overspending because I'm not going to certain stores where I know that I will do that. I'm going to the stores where I know that I have my list, I have my plan, and I purchase accordingly. But if I didn't set those very specific parameters and I didn't take that first step this past weekend to go to those particular stores and change my money habits, all of those goals and planning mean nothing. So 50% uncomfortable. What is the current state of my finances? Be honest with myself and others. 70% incremental. Where can small changes now lead me in the future? Define those action steps and define the why. And then finally, 100% vital. What can I start doing now? Take the early and easy win. What are those things that if I don't do this, nothing else will change? So today's lesson, we talked about how our money sounds. We defined what was familiar. We defined what seemed impossible, and we made some a very loose plan of what it would take to get from the familiar to the impossible, whether that's education or mentoring, coaching, whatever. And then we talked about how certain inputs have impacted our ideas, our beliefs, our attitudes, and our experiences with money. What we actually think, feel, and believe about money and our relationship with money. And then we talked about the 50, 70, 100% principle. 50% uncomfortable, 70% incremental, 100% vital. So I hope today's lesson has been helpful to you. Hope today's talk has been helpful to you, that you can start piecing some information together and start taking some very important, even if it's baby action steps, some very important baby action steps for you to progress in your money. Again, that's why StudioM exists, to help you change the sound of your money, your financial education, and coaching. So I appreciate your time as a listener and as a viewer. I know that time does not come back to us. We spend it and it never ever returns. And so I appreciate the fact that you chose to spend it with me today. And I hope it's been beneficial to you. If you want to leave a comment or have a question related to the content, feel free to leave it in the chat below, or I encourage you to subscribe to our studio channel on YouTube and connect with us on social media. Or you can also sign up for our current Your Money education to also further the depth of your discussion, and then or schedule a 30-minute Your Money mentoring consultation. So with that, I'm Katrina Pitts, StudioM Financials instructor and financial coach. And until we meet, keep working on the change.